when film goes bad, you are the bargaining and like the why am I doing this? Like there is nothing like
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. No
truly. And
doubt.
it can be practice. It can be a game like that.
Our guest today on today's episode of the Left Hash Call is the current special teams coordinator and D-line coach at Carlisle High School. He is a former Division III student athlete, as well as one of my best friends in the entire world. Welcome to the show, Scott Oderio. How's it going today, man?
Today's good. It's been cold. It's been dreary. I work in a middle school, so this is the dog days of the year. Kids are trapped inside, and I'm happy to talk some football. Happy to talk to a friend. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you that are unaware of Scott's journey, we were teammates while at Simpson College. Got really close to each other during COVID specifically, I think. And then he was also my center. So obviously a bond like none other, um, being a quarterback center duo. And we'll get into some of that later. But I guess just jumping right into it, Scott, let's talk about, your journey from, high school. You grew up in Romeoville, Illinois,
Yep.
and then you end up going to Simpson College, which is obviously where you met. Just kind of talk about that experience and why you chose Simpson, how Simpson originally recruited you, and ultimately just kind of what led you to play in Division III football.
Gotcha. Um, yeah. I would say for the most part, just my journey in general just kind of begins as like, as a kid. I feel like I see it now, especially just because of coaching and interacting with kids on a day-to-day basis. But I feel like everything I wanted to do when I hung out with my friends growing up was like some sort of game. There wasn't a lot of like let's just hang out and do something or like go play pretend. Like let's grab a ball and find a way to play a game, or I'll throw 10 pitches to you, you throw 10 pitches to me. Um, so it was just always like that competitive side of it. Even now, like sitting around at home with my wife, it's like, do you want to play an iMessage game? We should do something, play a board game. Um, but I'm the oldest of three, and by far, I mean, it was basketball, baseball growing up because that's what my dad played. That's what my dad coached me in. And he coached me all the way up and just about through the end of elementary, and it was just very baseball heavy. So it was, play baseball at the school, play baseball with like the park league and the rec leagues and stuff like that. And Illinois is just different too because, especially in Iowa, the like athletic programs kind of trickle down. They have like youth camps and they have like school sanctioned middle school teams and stuff like that. Illinois did not have that. So unless you knew somebody like that was playing Pop Warner Pee Wee football, you really wouldn't have any chance to do it unless you seek that out. Um, and you hear stories about like cutting weight and stuff like that. My mom, with me as the oldest of three, just always been a bigger kid. She was not about to have me like try to cut weight at
Hmm.
9, 10, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah, my mom was the exact same way.
Yeah. So um, I remember this is one of those like core memories I remember really well. I remember eighth grade, maybe about this time in the school year, on my lunch table, just like, okay, we're all gonna go try football, and you're gonna get through your freshman year, and we're gonna go through it together. So it was six, seven of us at our lunch table, and we went through it, and like we did like the eighth grade camp like throughout March, and it was like 1 week you're gonna be a wide receiver, 1 week you're gonna be a linebacker. So it was like an all winter thing, and that was like at our park league, and I just remember like the head coach being like, this big guy's moving pretty well. This big guy's doing some good stuff. So I went in there, did that, and then hit the ground running when we started doing like our summer workout stuff. I remember going our very first day it rained, and I only brought cleats, so I had to run around the gym in my socks. So that was like the first time I ever worked out, like with a barbell or anything like that. In Romaville, I guess I don't know how to compare it to really any town in Iowa, just because it's southwest Chicago suburbs. It's a huge area. My wife likes to tell me that she can't tell when we go from one town to the next when we go back home for holidays. It's not like Iowa where you have 10, 15 minutes of farm driving in between town to town. But Illinois goes up to 8A for football. We were a
Hmm.
7A school. I graduated with about 400 kids. So I would like to compare it to kind of where I'm at now. I mean, Carlisle's maybe a little bit smaller, maybe 200, 250, but it's on the outskirts of like where everything's going on. A little bit more of like a blue collar, like dirty shirt type community where like kids
Hmm.
work hard and the parents work really hard and everybody like enjoys, like the rewards that come with that. So I benefited a lot just because it was a smaller school. If I would have lived about 5 minutes north, I would have been in a school in the same school district as me that has 3,200 kids in it with a graduating class of like 800, so double the school size. So I was really fortunate to like have that opportunity and to go play on a bad football team that kids didn't want to go play for.
Hmm.
So like freshman year, I remember B team kid. I started one freshman A game. I got pulled because I was just getting my butt kicked. Sophomore year, like a junior quit, so I took, and then like one of the kids my grade got called up to varsity, so I took his spot in the sophomore team. And then my junior year and senior year, I got to start, and I was fortunate enough that my school was big enough, and my offensive coordinator decided I was too valuable as a left guard to play any defense. Um, so from there, and then just
Truer
like
words have
obviously,
never been spoken.
yeah, really fortunate to have had a Division I running back, and um, like you don't have to do a whole lot for him, so that guy makes it look really good. And I was really fortunate. My junior senior year, we had his name's Oliver Gibson. He played at the University of Notre Dame. He was a All American at Romaville in 1990. Played for the Steelers. Played for the Bengals. Um, and he was a really good mentor for me, just because of just how intense and how I feel like true to himself he was. He certainly did things his own way. And I remember like he called me out one day, one of his first days in the summer. It was like you're hiding in the back, and I decided like you can never. I'm not gonna let anyone tell me that like I'm hiding in the back right now. Um, so that was kind of how it went, and then throughout that, especially after my sophomore year when I was handling kids my own age, to kind of answer my journey question. As the oldest of three, I didn't know what to do, and my mom didn't know like what to do as far as how do we figure out if you want to keep playing. So then we joined like the NCSA program or whatever, or that recruiting service where they help you like kind of sort out what you're looking for. And I just told them, like kind of think it's small school. I know what I am. I know I want to keep playing. I don't know what I want to do per se. I know I want to get away from Illinois. So I looked at like 5 hours west in Iowa. I looked 5 hours north around the WIAC. Looked 5 hours east, like southeast in Indiana, like in the HCAC. So it was just kind of whoever made the right sense to me. Looked around. I think North Central might have been like the first visit I went on just because like, oh, that's close. I know they're good. But then like one of my quarterbacks went to North Central. I don't think he ever saw the field, so that kind of scared me a little bit. But like they said the right stuff, and I just didn't want to be 15 minutes from my house. I wanted to go to college and figure myself out, stuff out, and I did. But ultimately, I mean, like Simpson let me kind of figure stuff out for myself. I heard a lot of people like on visits tell me you don't have to declare your major right away, and you're gonna change up. And I did. I changed my major like 3 or 4 times, maybe officially. Um, but then like just another thing, like kind of small. I wasn't. I was competing for time, but I wasn't never gonna get it. It was realistic. I was able to travel my sophomore year. I was able to start my junior year, and then senior year got a little wiped out. So I mean, that's just kind of how I got from here to there, as far as just on like my learning football. But yeah, I mean, it was really weird because I graduated. The guys in my senior class, I think four of us went and played college football. I think five of us went and played college football. I think two of us got through all 4 years at the same school and like kept playing football. Obviously, we're both incredibly biased because of the experiences we had at like
Sure.
awesome small school programs. But there is so much to learn from the game,
Hmm.
b about yourself and just about how life works. Like the ability to look back on it now and like you had your bumps in the road and your journey was like non-linear kind of and mine got cut off way sooner than I thought it was going to. But not a lot of people can say that. not a lot of people can say they made it through high school, like period. Not a lot of people can say they made it through high school football, period. Not a lot of people, you know what I mean? It's just like you narrow yourself down more and more, and I don't know, it's a hell of an accomplishment, really.
Yeah. I consider myself so lucky. And, as I tell my story to people and, had two season ending injuries,
Hmm.
had COVID cut my year short, my senior year at Simpson short, um, spent most of my career as a backup. A lot of people are like, that sounds awful. Why would anybody want to do that? But it's relationships like these and my ability to learn the game. And honestly, to have ultimately had two different families,
Yeah,
at Simpson and River Falls, that I mean, I would not take that back for
yeah,
anything. Like, met my girlfriend at River Falls.
yep.
You met your wife at Simpson. Like, it's just an unbelievable experience.
By far, yeah. I mean, and I got married this last summer, and everybody on my altar was somebody
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like even my brother and my high school best friend were up there, but my high school best friend, he was a part of that lunch table, and he
Yeah.
only played 1 year, but I remember our freshman year, like how do we put these pads on, like having those talks with each other and like on the bus rides and stuff like that. And then like I made my brother come be a water boy my senior year because he was. I remember my sister would have volleyball and I'd have football at the same time. And we'd come home and my sister and I would be dog tired, and my brother is like just getting up. He's like, "Okay, what are we going to do today?" I'm like, "Nah, you're coming to football with me tomorrow. You're gonna be tired too, little man." So yeah, I mean, it's so much more than anything.
When you were in school, I just remember you doing all sorts of internships and having like it felt like you had like 10 different jobs at once. A lot of times you have to do some of those things
Hmm.
to first of all just buy food. What did you think you learned from all those different experiences, whether it was interning, you know, with the Bucks, the Des Moines hockey team,
Yep.
or, what do you think you learned from all those internships, and then just the sheer work that you had to put in, working other jobs
Yeah.
while also having a full time job of being a student and another full time job of being a student athlete.
And at the end, after football season, after winter break my freshman year, I got a job at Jimmy John's because my roommate was working, and I knew I needed to start working because I mean, just in general, I knew like I was taking a trip for our May term and stuff like that. So like I just had to get that stuff figured out. And because from a young age, I think when I got my keys to my car for my 16th birthday, my dad said like, "Here are your keys. Find a way to pay for it." And you know my dad, so that tracks.
Very much so.
Um, so it's just like that.
Shout out Joe.
It's just that like that work ethic type stuff instilled with me. And then sophomore year, I got a job at the library, so I could be on campus while I was working. A little bit easier job where I could like do homework, watch film, that type of stuff. Sophomore year, as I figured out what I wanted to do with my major, it being sport administration is very heavily internship based, and just because we were so close to Des Moines, part of the reason I chose Simpson was to be able to like have these internships during the year. So yeah, it was crazy, and then like to leave practice or like come to practice late or leave right from weights and go to work. Um, so I did a year and a half with the Wolves. One of them got cut off because of COVID. That was a lot of fun. I did a year with the Des Moines Buccaneers because during COVID the Wolves weren't in town, and the only game in town was the Des Moines Buccaneers. So that was a little bit different. It's just a different type of crowd. I worked at Walmart for 2 months during COVID. I worked at Hy-Vee from like December of 2020 until I graduated. So I mean, it was just always something going on because I kind of had to, especially after I got my car out there. Like I had to have the Hy-Vee job to like pay for the minimum wage job up at Des Moines Bucks because I don't think it might have cost me more money to go to the Des Moines Bucks games than it did to than I got paid to work them sometimes. Um, so I mean, it was tough, and you just learn your time management. You learn to prioritize. You learn like, okay, this Sunday stuff has to get done because Monday night I'm in Des Moines, Tuesday night I'm working, Wednesday night is like whatever else is going on. So I liked it. Um, Jeremy Randall and I worked the Wolves job together for that first year, and he drove me and everything, so that was huge. Um, no, I really enjoyed it because I think it's really valuable to like go have those experiences and go like have bad experiences too. And the summer after my sophomore year, I did a 8 week long math research program, and I hated every second of it. And I knew like I can't. I can't do this for the rest of my life. So like I have to pivot a little bit. So I think that's something that's not talked about enough is like you have to go do something that you're on the edge of, go do it, have a horrible time, and then realize it's never for you again, instead of like lying to yourself. You know what I mean? Like you just got out of an experience like that for you.
The best way to learn is to fail a shit ton,
Hmm.
and maybe not necessarily fail, but
Just
do
like
things
being
that make
uncomfortable.
you
Yeah.
right, doing things that make you really, really uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, when I look back at my experiences that were really hard, I feel like I learned so much more by those experiences than I did like when it was just a breeze. A lot of my coaching friends out there, a lot of them seem to play center. You know, maybe you don't feel like this, but I feel like playing center makes you one of the most coach ready positions if you want to be a coach eventually.
Hmm.
Do you think that's true? And then if so, why do you think that is?
I think it's true for parts of it. I think like my first stop was coaching online, so it made life a little bit easier doing
Mm-hmm.
that. I think you're going to be a head coach, I think it helps because it's a lot of communicating. It's a lot of making sure people are all on the same page. And then like quite literally the way we played, I was all up there by myself. Like our guards and tackles would get set off of me and like half, kind of off my hip. So like I was out there on my own. Like I'd look out my peripherals and I couldn't see my teammates. Like that's a scary, lonely feeling. So you get that a lot as a head coach. Now I'm coaching the other side of the ball, so I can't speak to that too much, but yeah, I mean it gets you used to like being on the hook for things. It gets you used to like, hey, why was the guard wrong? Like, oh, I made the wrong call. Like, a head coach is gonna have that plenty of times. Um, but I played, especially throughout high school, is a lot of guard. I don't know if it's because we saw so many like three down teams, or because I was smaller, or because we our center my junior and senior year was he was really short and stocky, prototypical center for like a West Coast offense. Like he was going to occupy your nose and help on your shades and stuff like that, and he did a good job. But I don't know if he was like the smarter player or if he was just had played like all through youth and like had a little bit more experience at the time we were playing. It would be really interesting to compare like 22-year-old me versus 22-year-old him because I know he moved to defense in college. Um, so I mean, I feel like the easy answer is quarterback, or like it's like quarterback, middle linebacker, maybe safety, and then like center, kind of like all in like a 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D type thing.
Yeah, I
And
think it depends on the system you play in as
sure,
a quarterback. Like, for me, I wasn't really dialed into the run game too
yeah.
much. Translate
Even as
that,
like a
but
center, there are times
yeah,
when you're like, shut up, this is what we're running. And then like
yeah,
as a coach,
true,
you have to get ready for that too. Like
absolutely.
you can talk your, and you've been in plenty of meetings too, but you can sit there in a football meeting and talk yourself in circles for 6 hours and not get anything done.
Oh, totally.
So I think being a center quarterback too, anyone that's making a call on the field, like
Hmm.
you just get used to like, shut up, this is what we're running. I don't care if it works,
Yeah,
but we're all going to run it.
yeah, right, wrong, and different.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're gonna do this. Try to do it full speed. Let's talk about your first coaching stop. Um, what was it like going up
Oh
there?
God.
And just kind of talk about coaching Class 2A football because at the time your experience had been 7A football and then college football and then
Hmm.
kind of going to the middle of nowhere a little bit.
Well, I moved up to Orange City with Logan. She got in the PA school up there. She had to like make a snap decision. I want to say like September, October of our senior year, and I didn't know like what a fifth year would look like. I didn't think I wanted to do a fifth year. We were at like a weird point in our relationship where like it could have been like it, or it could have been like I'm gonna go for it and then like put us first, and I did. I'm glad I did that. So it was just a huge life change in general. I had found I had been working for like maybe a week. She still hadn't started school, but we had moved up there just so I could work. And I remember just sitting down at Sioux Center Hy-Vee. Sioux Center is the town over from Orange City. And I sat down, had my lunch, and like some Dutch lady comes up and starts talking to me like, "You're not from here. Like, what's up?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not from here." My girlfriend and I, but like it's Dutch people. It's family money. It's family farms, and
Yeah.
I mean, I read on Wikipedia that Orange City was founded because Pella didn't think Pella was religious enough, which is a crazy thought.
Yeah.
So we were up there,
That's
and she's like,
that
"Oh," I'm
is
like, "Oh, I just graduated, played some football, did that, kind of just hanging out. I was just tired of school because of like having senior research, having a goofed up senior football season, and then like I we literally graduated on Sunday, and then like was gone that night. So I was just tired of it and just wanted to get away. And I was like, yeah, I play football and just kind of that's me. And she's like, oh, my kid's school is looking for a football coach. So then, like I emailed the guy. He's like, yeah, we're actually looking for an offensive line coach. And it was a tiny little two-way program, little private school. I think so. This has been 2021. I think it was their 15th year of football ever at their school. Um, and the guy had played at Dort, which is an NAIA program up there, and he's like their second only head coach. And he's like, we run duo, we run power, and I just need somebody that can like relate to kids. I need somebody that can teach them, and I need somebody that can be here. And like 22 years old, I'm like, sure, yeah, I can be here. So like, Hy-Vee was awesome about it. He was really good about it. He let me call plays for the JV offense, which was awesome. But like you said, it was just to go from like Simpson has literally been playing games for 120 years. These guys have been playing for 15. They don't play. They don't have a home field. They play on the college field in their town at Northwestern College, the NAIA powerhouse. So like that's cool, but you don't get any of the runoff from them. You just have their facility to go play on Friday night after you load up the trailer. But I mean, it was just a different culture because the money. It's not a football town. It's a very much a basketball town. I think their homecoming is during basketball season.
wow.
So yeah, when you think about it like that,
That feels like criminal behavior.
yeah. And then like I'm in this place I've never seen before. I'm playing schools I didn't
Yeah.
know existed. I didn't know you could drive an hour north of Sioux City and still be in Iowa. Like I just stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
So it
crazy.
was a new like life experience, and I knew I needed to do something like that because Logan was at school for 8 hours a day, studying for 8 hours a day, and like the worst thing I could do was just be in the house and be around because she just needed that time to do her thing. So I mean, it just happened completely on accident, and I handled it well, and I got through it, and I liked it, and I coached baseball at that same school, and that's how I knew like okay, I can be around kids, like I can do this coaching thing, and that gives me a little bit more confidence to do that. Um, so yeah, really grateful for it. I was about to do a second season, but Logan's program like shifted to her working around Iowa, so we came back down to Des Moines, like July, August of 2022. So that really sucked to like go through a summer with them, and then like the last day of summer, like I knew for sure like I'm not gonna be back. So yeah, it just wasn't. I'm 22, 23 years old. Probably could have handled it better looking back on it now, as a
Sure.
grizzled 25-year-old veteran. But
Right.
it's just one of those things.
Being up there
Yeah.
and then your next coaching spot
Hmm.
entirely different.
Oh,
I
by
mean,
far.
like like the shift in culture, the
Yep.
shift in play, the
Yep.
shift in school size.
Yep.
I don't know if it could be any more different.
I mean,
That
it was
change.
completely night and day. Like the only way it could have been more different if I went from like 8 man to 11 man.
Yeah.
Like as far as an 11 man to 11 man jump, it really couldn't have been any different. Unfortunately for like Lincoln, we didn't have like the numbers, so like having the two-way guys, having small practices, that was not new. Um, the challenge there was that it was a coach in his first year, and I showed up really late to the party, so I was swimming through camp and just kind of finding my place. And I worked all summer with those guys on the O line, and I come down, I'm doing running backs for Lincoln. So it's just different, and it's just a whole. It's there's so many different problems at every different school. Like Orange City was, you know, parents are heavily involved, and you go to Lincoln and parents aren't involved. And Lincoln, it's like, how do we get these kids fed? And Orange City's like, well, why do we have to go all the way to Clear Lake for a playoff game? And just like champagne problems a little bit, especially compared to what was going on at Lincoln. I mean, grateful for it because that's scary, just because of how different it was for me. Um, but like grateful for it. not a staff. There were people on the staff I got along with, but ultimately not enough for me to, really set up there, especially because that was the first time I had taken a job in a school. It just didn't vibe with me. I just felt like I was there to be not security or like a babysitter, but for the most part, I was in a classroom setting and just really didn't jive with it. So that was that was one football season. That was not even a semester. I don't think I was literally there August, and then I didn't go back after winter break. Um, and I knew I just needed out. But like even at Lincoln, like I related to those kids, and I was like, okay, that was like further affirmation for me. Like I can be around kids, like I can help them out. They'd like talking to me, and then that's something I've just been continuing to struggle with. Is do they like me because I'm good at what I do, or they like me because I'm young, sarcastic, and like I know what they're talking about. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So,
did you have that like at Simpson at all? Would you say?
you always get treated a little bit differently, I think, if you're the young coach. And so you can kind of mess with the guys a little bit more. But at the same time, I think the squirreliness definitely comes out a little bit more when it's the young coach. There's a time that you got to sit down and you got to be serious and you got to make sure you're getting stuff done. But let's talk about you going back to Simpson now. What was
Sure.
that process like? And I want to bring this up because my process, I feel like, was probably fairly similar to yours because when you called me, I was looking for jobs and you asked me, would you be interested in a, receiver, entry level receivers coach job? And I was like, in my head, I was like, no. Like, I remember where that program was. Like, as far as the football being played, wasn't a good time.
Hmm.
But talk about, your experience with going back because I know I was like, that doesn't sound good at all. But then, I sit down with Coach Hoskins and I'm like, this kid, I could see myself here. So, what did you think, about the program when you were there this past time versus when you left?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't I don't know if there's anyone that's graduated from Simpson that had as bitter of a taste in his mouth as I did.
Totally, totally.
Just the way stuff worked out. I mean, like to put it bluntly, I feel like I was punished for graduating in 4 years,
Hmm.
and because of like extenuating circumstances, like I got shafted over. And looking back on it now, the more and more I look at it, it's a Dumber and Dumber season. It was like
Totally.
a organized scrimmage in one game. But like even then, I should have had my opportunities that I'd earned, rather than
Hmm.
then those coaches like trying to set themselves up and give themselves a runway. But yeah, right after I left Lincoln, I was at a school district that did not have a paid position for me with their football program,
Hmm.
and Logan wasn't working yet, so I couldn't make that time and money sacrifice. Um, Fortunately, the staff turned over at Simpson, and I reached out. The district I was at was commutable and it was close to Indianola, it was close to be able to do that. So I reached out and I just said, I wrote Coach Hoskins a handwritten letter. Like one day, Logan and I went down there for coffee because there's a whole bunch of shopping and stuff that she still really likes. And we try to go to the area as much as we can and support that community. So I just, hey, I'm an alum, looking for a coaching job. This offense, out of state student. Let me come be a part of this. And he reached out to me after he put together his full time staff, and he said, I'm kind of looking at a part time, definitely a part time position, but based on what you've brought to the table, it sounds like tight ends might be a good fit for you. So I was able to do that. I did that for a season, and a spring. We overlapped for that second spring, so that was really good. I it's so I don't know. I feel like it's really hard to judge a program in its infancy, especially like where Simpson was at. With a new staff, new head coach, because the culture's resetting. And I think people are trying to figure out what's working in that audit process of like, okay, like does staying overnight work? Can these guys handle it? Is it our administration? Is there something wrong with that? Is like the way the school's running? Is that helping recruiting? Is that hurting? So there's just so much going on. It's really hard to judge. I do think they're in a better place now as far as like athletics are being prioritized, obviously, because I think when I enrolled, I don't know if we technically had an athletic director, and now we do. And now
I talked
there's,
about the same thing.
yeah,
Like I don't even remember, like I don't even remember being introduced to one.
yeah.
I
I
don't
think we
remember
might have had
seeing
like an
one.
professor acting as one, and he would like go represent the
Yeah.
college at like conference meetings, but like that's it.
Yeah.
But now we have
Right.
a bona fide like Marty Bell is the man,
He is so
and
good.
everything he's put his mind to, he continues to do, and it's really amazing. And he's adding sports, and he's renovating facilities, and he's updating stuff, and bringing Simpson athletics in the 21st century. Parts of like what's going on institutionally really haven't changed. I was My sister graduated 3 years after us, so I got to like see that through her eyes too. She was a senior when I was down there. Um, so I don't know. I think they're in a good spot. I think small college athletics are hurting unless you're not a has been, but like a what's hot, I guess. Because it's hard to convince kids to go play small college football when they could go somewhere cheap, when they could go not play football and kind of get through life easily. So it's just tough, I think, for everybody, unless you're that like upper tier of Division 3 football, especially in Iowa. I mean, just in Iowa in general. I remember we had one kid from smaller, I want to say 3A school, but he was, you know, we're rolling out the red carpet for him. We're talking to him all the time. He's just waiting for a walk on offer from Iowa. And if he gets that walk on Iowa offer from Iowa, he's going to take it and pass up an awesome opportunity to come play 4 years of football. So it's just stuff like that. And I would imagine that's everywhere. And then small private colleges are just hurting everywhere too, because it's expensive and it's hard to get people to sign on for something like that.
So where do you see like college athletics and maybe primarily small college athletics? What do you think it looks like in 10 years? Do you think we're still just barely scraping by in 10 years? Do you think we're better off?
I feel really underqualified to answer that huge question, especially about like
Sure.
the bigger schools. I think Division 3 is
Mhm.
relatively safe as long as kids keep playing, as long as like there's an opportunity for people to go play. Because I feel like that's the where I fell into is like I have 4 years of eligibility and I can't imagine wasting it.
Yeah.
Um,
That clock, just that as
yeah,
soon as you enter that NCAA meeting that first day on campus and they talk about the clock,
yeah.
like you feel a lot of pressure to perform.
And this is the other thing too, especially I'm a full-time substitute at middle school. So I'm around 11, 12, 13-year-old, 14 kids all the time. And these kids are balls to the wall doing something every night. I coached girls basketball this year. I got talked to even that. And we had a girl on our team. She would play in our game and then she'd go right to her AAU practice. Um, and then there's all this pressure to go do band. There's all this pressure to go be in drama. You can play 4 sports in Iowa, so there's all this pressure to go do that. There were girls that would leave our practice, or they leave our game and go to softball practice in October. So it was just, I think that scares me the most, because I remember like even even as a kid, like you kind of look for your downtime. Like, oh, baseball's over in July. That's my screw around time, and then my fall baseball will start in like September, October before I started playing football. So that was like it was just like a 2 month sprint. Now they're just running these marathons of having stuff all year round, and it takes them out of school, and it takes them away from their friends, and it's super competitive, and it's not fun. And by the time they're old enough to like make a college decision, they're just tired of it.
I think that's an insight as far as the high school game that
Yes,
like a lot might not talk about because
100%. It's normal. Like the Eagles just won the Super Bowl what 10 days ago. Those guys are not going to basketball practice. Do you know what I mean? Those guys aren't going to touch anything until May. It's a normal, like the best in the world of what they're doing. And obviously, they're specialized and they have the team of people. So I'm not like calling for specialization because that scares me too. Um,
let's kind of shift gears a little bit to, teaching high school ball versus, college ball. What do you think are the biggest differences as far as how you got to approach, teaching these guys when it comes to schemes, when it comes to, reads, whatever that is, on the defensive side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, and now special teams, of course. How do you think, you got to change up what you're doing between levels?
yeah. So when I think about it, to go from playing in college, coaching in Orange City, then going to Lincoln, then back to college, and back to high school, like having to like ramp up or ramp down what I'm expecting has been a big part of it. Um, Fortunate enough that this community in Carlisle is really well established as a football community. I want to say this fall would be our head coach's year 22 in his program. Um, and just like a huge wealth of knowledge. We had three of our other assistant coaches are also head coaches within our district. It's like these guys know how to talk to kids. They know how to like get the most out of them. Super helpful. Um, One thing that I did bring up in like our postseason talk was like we can't take 3 hours to figure out how to stop this formation, how to line up to it, and expect them to learn it in 15 minutes. So like not to say we have to dumb down what we're doing, but we need to simplify it. And like the first thing that pops in our heads is probably going to be the easiest thing for them to understand when we get up in front of them Monday morning before our walkthrough, before our JV game, and be like, hey, they come on trips, you're gonna apex out here, safety's gonna bump over linebackers, you pull the chain, and we'll play like a weak side, like almost like an underfront away from like, all your unattached receivers. So it needs to be that simple. I think that's why I've been doing this winter, trying to like make the special teams as simple as possible. Like we're gonna go out there, we're gonna try to punt this way every time, unless like this kid's a stud. We're gonna go out there and like this, week two we're gonna have two different kickoff calls. Week three we'll have like a different. Maybe I'll exchange one for the other. Because I touched on it, these kids are just they're freaking busy. They got a lot going on, and unfortunately they don't have the attention span to sit there and learn six different like key offensive formations we're going to stop on defense and then like learn all the new run stuff that we're going to put in on offense just because we still rely on a lot of one way or two-way players just as far as like skill and stuff like that. We can't afford to in some spots have two-way or have one-way players. You have to keep it simple. That is the
Yeah.
nice thing about high school is that it does not take up the time that college did.
Hmm.
um, but I mean that's the challenge too because like you find all these things and you hear all these things and how in depth do I want to get? How in depth do I want my reporting to be? You want to be able to give your kids answers because they ask questions,
Yeah.
but you can't front load them with so much. I guess is a good way to put it.
Right. And, the difference between that and college is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you get them for like, 20 minutes after school before you hit the practice field.
Not usually. The way we ran it, we'd have like 20 minutes of whiteboard time for each side of the ball, like the very first week of August, and then after that, it's all on the field. We'd give them a packet Monday, like we as coaches would put together. Especially on our defensive staff meetings, it was okay. Here are their five formations. Oh crap, they came out like a quad, empty diamonds. This is how we'll adjust to it. We saw this goofy 2 point play. This is how we'll adjust to it, and we try to get them that, and then just kind of like anything more specific, like this guard's going to try to bury you. This tackle just wants to play titty bump with you, stuff like that. So it's just finding what's relevant for them and moving on.
Do you think they do a good job of, taking the youth programs and using a similar system
Oh, by far,
and then
yeah,
graduating that? Because I think when your youth programs are really, really bought in, let's say, for example, if you're running a 4-2-5 defense or you're running a spread offense and those kids, they run it when they're, you know, sixth grade and then they run it in seventh grade and they run it in eighth grade and then they're hearing it from now high school coaches
yep,
for the first time. By the time they're seniors, they're, pretty well versed in that
yeah,
system.
yes.
So do you think they do a good job over there? And
Well,
and how do you feel like
by far, like it's been year 22 for him. So I mean, we've got guys that played in our system, and like now their kids are getting coached by their dads or like guys they played with, stuff like that.
yeah,
And it has to be because the offense is split back fear, and that's just reps, and it's not fun, but it's effective when it's done the right way. As far as defense goes, we're I'm actually going to a meeting after this, and we're going to talk about how we can implement 4-2-5 and play that. It sounds like they've been pretty flexible as hard as like kind of sign the times type stuff on defense. So it's like way back in the day when everybody else was running some sort of ground and pound stuff, it was like 4-4. They tried to play some 41 crush, and now teams are adding tight ends and fullbacks and stuff like that, and making that really tough. So everybody wants to be multiple. We're trying to go to 4-2-5, be able to play some odd front stuff too with the same personnel, just kind of move stuff around. But and then that's the new challenge for me is I get to figure out what the varsity is going to do on special teams. I have to figure out. I will probably be the guy still calling the plays for JV on defense or the JV special teams because that's basically what I did last year. Kind of backed my way into that. but now I have to delegate that to a freshman coach. I'm gonna have to delegate it to an eighth grade coach. You know, is special teams one of those things in Carlisle that I have to go and like lead the eighth graders through? I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. And then like I didn't play youth football. Do they do special teams in sixth grade? Does it matter? You just find the biggest kid that can kick it. You know what I mean? Oh, I played soccer before, and then you just let that kid tee it up. So yeah, I would say continuity. It's really important. It's also nice that it's like one high school, it's one middle school, so these kids are doing all the same stuff together.
Like you mentioned, you were doing, you're coaching women's basketball, you're coaching, you're doing baseball in the off season. How do you handle doing all of those other sports and coaching all those other sports, but also like getting ready for football season, which is, of course, is, the main,
Mm-hmm.
reason why you're there.
Yeah. No, I mean it's nice that there's a little bit of a natural cadence to it this year. Getting talked into doing basketball. There was a week of overlap of like 6 a.m. practices with girls basketball, go to school all day, and then go do football in the afternoon. So that was rough at the very end of the season. If we hopefully we put together a nice little playoff run, and hopefully some football practices and football state tournament games run into like girls basketball games. Um, but I want to say, I mean, the rule in their district, and it's probably pretty standard, is like your in-season sports priority. You don't leave the new sport to go chase the existing one, that sort of thing. Um, the Our head baseball coach is he was our quarterbacks and running backs coach for the football program, so he was really privy to it. He's going to step away and just do baseball full time now to have more time with the kids in the fall. But he played football and baseball at Simpson too, so like this guy gets it. He understands like the going back and forth. It's nice that a lot of guys that do football also play baseball, kind of vice versa. So it's I mean it's nice to like have seasons to it. It's nice that I'm not waiting around all November through June to get back to it. But I mean, you just gotta. And it's having a supportive wife and like she understands what's going on too helps a lot. And then like even Saturday, I think I got off the couch like maybe 2 or 3 times. So like taking my wins in February, if I can get them, I take them, and like taking a nice like restful, um, winter break is good. It helps that the middle school sports are like 2 month seasons. So like girls basketball went from middle of October to it was over before Christmas, and then this boys baseball for the middle school, their games are literally May 30th to June 30th, so it doesn't go too late in the summer. So I can really start to get ready for football like all July and get ready for August.
My last couple questions here,
Sure.
as we kind of put a button on this thing, or put a bow on this
Yeah,
thing,
I know what you mean.
button up this thing,
Yeah.
however you want to put that. Why do you think, just generally, what do you think makes sport of football so special?
I I'm trying to think. There is so much that you have to do before you can play a down of football that has to go right.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it translates a lot to life about going to a job, about being a husband, a good friend, good son, like right now, cat dad. So like there's stuff that like you have to be prepared. You have to like watch your film. You have to know what you're supposed to do. You have to know what the people around you are supposed to be doing. You have to make sure that like your body's in a good place. Like, are you stuffing your shit full of junk food and whatnot? Um, and then you have a chance because the other team is doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's been a few times when you can just feel that something has worked in football, but it's not like it is truly fought for, and a lot of it could be luck, just because like oh we lucked into them rolling a safety into the boundary and our field seam is wide open, that sort of stuff. But like that's also just a lot of luck. But like that's how I ended up at Carlisle. I'm only here because my sister was student teaching. They're like, oh, we need a baseball coach, and my sister threw my name out there. So it's like it's just luck of the people around you. It's luck of yourself. I think I think football games are like definitive. I mean, you see a lot of it like, oh, it goes this way, and then like, I don't think one play decides it. I think it's the body of work. Um, I like that it's an event. people get up for football. It's not just something that happens. It's not usually background noise.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, and it is truly unlike any other thing because these kids that I'm coaching, if they do what they're doing to each other from 8 a.m. until 3:30, the police are showing up. But then I can then I can tell them to go kill each other, and I can
Mm-hmm.
pat them on the ass and tell them they're doing the things the right way.
Yeah.
So I think it keeps people sane, really. How would you answer that question, Seth?
My interpretation of that question really is because of how many different types of people it takes.
Yeah,
It takes fast kids, it takes slow kids, it takes skinny kids, it takes fat kids, it takes kids who come from, poverty, it takes kids that are part of, rich communities, it takes black kids and white kids, and try to bring all of those different cultures and races and thoughts and religions together and try to accomplish something. It's so beautiful how hard it is, I
yeah,
think, and how, like you said, so much has to go right to just play one down of football. In baseball, if you have a really good pitcher or a good hitter, you'll probably be okay. If you have a good 3-point shooter in basketball, again, you're probably okay. Or an outstanding goalie in soccer. But if one guy if your left guard, you know, screws something up, your quarterback could be dead. I mean, or if one receiver runs the wrong route, you could lose the game.
head on. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting back into baseball mode now because we've been doing a little bit of off season stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I feel like it's right there between the two, just as far as like you have to have everybody doing the right thing, and you can
Yeah.
hide on a baseball field. I can stick the kid out in right field, and
Mm-hmm.
he's probably not getting a lot of work.
Yeah.
No one's found the right place to hide somebody in the football field yet because it doesn't exist.
Why do you think? Why do you think it's so important for a quarterback and a center to get an absurd amount of under center snaps when we've never done anything other than being in the shotgun?
Um, this made me laugh when I was reading it in front of a room. I didn't read it off to them, but I read it like silently to myself in a room full of eighth graders. So that was good. Um, you just have to be ready for literally anything. Like you came into that game in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, did we have to
Yeah.
kneel it out?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we kneeled
We
it out.
took
And we
two.
were up.
Yeah, we took two knees. Yep.
We kneeled it out. And we were up by 8.
Yeah.
If we didn't know how to do that, who knows? You know what I mean? Like it does happen.
Just to give everybody a little context, Scott and I became really, really close because we were both backups. We were both at the time we were both backups. We hadn't taken an under center snap in a varsity play basically all year.
Yep.
And Scott and I felt like it was necessary that we get an unreal amount of under center snaps, kind of just off to the side while everybody else was getting, normal snaps. And lo and behold, like you said, I would come in and Scott was the center and took two knees and it felt like we didn't take one under center snap before that, like during the game. It was just like, oh, we do this all the time. We're good. As much as it was like
It was too.
let's get
Yeah.
10, let's just do it. As much as it is, it's just it became muscle memory. It
Yeah. It
became a
was. I mean,
habit.
it
It
was
became
like
an
it was two
easy.
backups like accepting accepting the role and like having fun with it.
Yeah.
Because like we like obviously like we both found our way to the field in that season,
Yeah.
and like you take your you take your shotgun snaps like seriously because like that's how we do stuff, and then
Right.
like we had to do that to like make it fun because we had how many reps would you get at all during a practice? Probably less than me, but like
Probably.
yeah. So
I
like
mean, a set. So I
yeah,
mean, not
so
that
like
much.
it's also still a game too. Like it has to be
Yeah.
fun. Like
Hmm.
you cannot go out there after you can't go in there and get your head bashed in when you're wearing all this crap. It's hot. You still have homework and you're going to go eat crappy food. Like you have to find a way to make it fun. And I feel like I mean you have to find a way to make it fun. I don't know if it's like kids these days like don't know how to make it fun on their own, but like they don't. You know what I mean? It's not you take ownership of it. We took ownership of like our practice and like made sure that we were ready to go and that like our quarterback and center like relationship was like good, I guess. I don't know. Not to get like all
Yeah.
deep about it, but
No, it's true. You were one of my best friends in the entire world, and we just had that connection of quarterback and center. And it's funny, my best friend from River Falls was my center
Yeah,
at River Falls. Like because we were both backups at the time when we were both playing. He was my center up there too. Just a simple like exchange of the football, like from your hand to your crotch region to my hands. Like it's just such a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that we're talking about this because like it's one of those beautiful parts of the game that I don't think anybody ever thinks about.
probably every college athlete is gonna have like a story like that. Like,
Hmm.
why would you do that? Like, I know like Mason and Caleb, like those guys that did track in the spring, like every
Yeah.
night they had a big Saturday meet. Like every Friday night before a big Saturday meet was like a movie night. Was it
Yeah.
good for them? Probably not. Like, why would you
Hmm.
stay up later and watch movies? But like that was their thing, and it made it fun. It made like
Hmm.
the week of crap worth it because like, oh, we have Friday movie night, or you know
Uh-huh.
what I mean. So like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think there's that everywhere. I think every sport has that somehow. And if your sport doesn't, like in your coaching, like you go ask your players like, what do you look forward to during our week of practice? And
Hmm.
they're like, you can't say the games, like you have to pick something in practice.
Like my most fond memories are all probably at practice. As a player, I was always so stressed out. And then as a coach, it's like game days as coaches are not fun at all. Like as
Oh no, no,
maybe
no,
they
no,
are as coordinators, maybe they are as
no,
head coaches,
no.
but like as an assistant coach who's not a coordinator, games are miserable.
Yeah,
Like making sure like the film
yep.
stays up.
The time from when I walk off the field Wednesday night, so like I get the film uploaded Wednesday night, and then the film uploaded on Friday night
Hmm.
is horrible. Because Thursday's a helpless feeling. Like you're not gonna fix anything on Thursday,
Yeah.
and then Friday you're like, okay, I hope these 16-year-olds remember what I said. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
to like say it out loud like that is terrifying.
Let's talk about your worst film
Oh
experiences.
God. Yeah, I mean, so the first one that comes to mind is supposed to be 2023 Simpson and Dubuque at home. We did not like what our student manager did like with the handheld, so we tried to
Hmm.
splice in like the huddle focus, and that was after I put in all my data.
Oh, yeah, that's the
So that
worst.
that was a big mess. So like I had to like save that to an Excel file, which I'd never done before, and like input the
Dude,
Excel
the
file
Excel.
back in there. And Huddle Focus takes a bunch of weird clips, and I got really good at like deleting and splicing and putting stuff back together, and it helped me a lot this year. This year we used the Huddle Focus stuff for our high school games, and we didn't realize until probably week 5 that our battery pack was compromised and only had 2 of the 4 working cells. So like we'd have a tight shot for like 2.5 quarters usually. So like just that was a headache until we got that figured out, and then that worked out really well. Um, there was like a freshman game this year, early October, that we like I had started taking a lot of like initiative with the film at Carlisle, and like I told an account that didn't have access to the camera to like film something, so like an opposing team didn't get a freshman game film, but like sure, fine, whatever, it's a freshman game film, but like they ran, I think they had like maybe 4 plays in their playbook, so
Oh no.
yeah. Like
Jeez.
they're like run pin pull right, run up the middle, run B gap, run C gap. Like that was their whole thing. So
It's funny you mentioned the Dubuque game, because 1 year later I would be having the worst possible experience at Dubuque. NCAA just got approved for you could use video in game now, and so everybody's got tablets, everybody's got video on the sidelines now, and this is the first year of it. And so we have this new system that nobody's ever used before. You have to like set up all these discs
yep, it's the
essentially.
same ones we use. Yeah.
Right, right. It's kind of universal now. We get to University of Dubuque. Usually they have a space that has an a window that opens so that you can shoot out of a window that's actually open for the film. I went up there and I asked whoever was sitting in the press box. I said, "Where's film at?" Because the first thing I do when I get off the bus is I start getting film ready. And they're like, "Oh, it's over here." I'm like, "Oh, I thought this was the coach's press box." And it's like, "Oh no, it's the same place." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's okay, fine." Like I typically don't like the film and the coaches to be in the same,
Mm-hmm.
box. The windows don't open.
This was early last year for you guys too, wasn't it? It's like
Say
middle
that again.
September. It was like middle September, right? This is early.
Yeah, September 28th, I believe.
Okay.
So it was, yeah, but it was windy. It was very windy, and I'll get to that later. I had shot those discs through glass before. When we were at William Penn earlier that year, the windows didn't open there either, but we shot the discs through glass, and it was just fine. Didn't have an issue. Because essentially what has to happen is there's a box that you get, because we use sports scope. There's a box that you get, and you have two antennas that hook up to each other, and one antenna shoots to the end zone camera. One connects to your tablets on your sideline. The problem is we weren't getting a signal from either one. Before the game, it was working, but we get right, like it's kickoff. The kickoff is happening, and we don't have an end zone shot. We left our cable that goes from the box in the press box to our handheld camera. We left that at home, so I had to go to Best Buy in Dubuque and pick up a new one. I thought that was going to be the worst of our day. But I don't have an end zone shot. I mean, it's the middle of the first quarter, and I'm trying to like figure this out. And we, like I said, we have no end zone shot. And really, the wide shot is good for some things, but the tight shot behind the offensive line is the most important. It's the most important shot for anybody. I am going back and forth because I'm in the press box, and I'm going back and forth between the end zone camera and the press box. I'm just running back and forth, still not getting anything. So I just say, screw it. I'm just going to hand jot, where guys are at. Middle of the second quarter goes through, and I'm looking at our O-line coach, and he goes, "Oh no." And I look over to our end zone camera, and our end zone camera falls. It's 25 feet in the air, and it blows over. So I look at it, and our poor end zone camera filmer, he's just like looking at it like, what have I just done? It wasn't his fault. It was windy, and the high pod was kind of a piece of junk. And I just start laughing. I barged into the middle of the press box where everybody was at, and I was like, I need somewhere to film right now. I don't care if I'm on the roof. Like, you need to give me somewhere to film. And I was very aggressive. And they gave us a spot that they should have had us in the whole time. Yep. Ended up getting the rest of the game. And of course, we use SportScope to record everything and then easily upload it to Huddle. And so we didn't have any of that. University of Dubuque was kind enough to give us all that stuff.
When film goes bad, you are the bargaining and like the why am I doing this? Like there is nothing like it.
Yeah.
Truly. And it can be practice. It can be a game like that. We were really blessed to have like pretty calm weather and stuff like that. But just like if you ask anybody in football their worst film story, you get the most outrageous stuff ever. Like
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, like I mean, we have like a rain bag that we like wrap our sports scope in. Think how we have to use it.
Again, can't thank you enough, Scott, for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. Also, thank you for to Karen Martins. This is a little like cutout. I was subbing in her room today, and she's not feeling well, but I was in her room. I've been in her room since Monday. Today's Wednesday, so I'm getting to know her class schedule really well. I'm gonna shout out her from the refrigerator and the room.
Well, what's her name?
Karen Martins.
Who is it? Karen Martins, I hope you're feeling better. It's good to give Scott a home for a couple of days.
Oh yeah, this is the life of a substitute, man. You just set up wherever.
Dude, it's like you're like a traveling nurse a little
bit.
Pretty
much.
Gotta learn new names and new classes, new subjects. Well, again, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a blast. So you have to come on whenever I ask.
Yeah, I'm waiting on my T-shirt.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's coming. Well, I'll send out a T-shirt whenever I get some merchandise. So,
awesome.
All right, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Peace.